celebrate. There's a party going on right here, a celebration to last throughout the year. So bring your good times and your laughter too. We're gonna celebrate your party. You come on now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Shine with Curiosity and Encouragement podcast. I am your host, Stephen Urias. I really need to update that opening crawl because we are almost at 200,000 views on YouTube, which is, Matt, I honestly have a feeling we're going to make it with this podcast because
that's great, man. That's great. 200,000. That's great, man.
200,000, man. We're pushing it up there. We've gotten triple-digit subscribers, and we keep getting more and more. But it's good to be back. We've been absent for the past couple of weeks with holidays and New Year's and just personal stuff going on. I'm like trying to get back into the swing of things. Like, I'm not sure what to do right now. Oh, what a day. As many of the watchers out there know, I'm in Jacksonville, Florida, and Jags lost today. Matt,
in very controversial fashion. I can't believe people aren't talking about it, but there's controversy.
I was actually shocked that Tony Romo was on Josh Allen's, not to be inappropriate, but he was on him like a man crush. Like I had never heard anybody get on a man crush before.
Yeah, it was definitely Patrick Mahomes-esque in the Josh Allen love. It was kind of ridiculous. I mean, the Bills figured out a way to pull it off, but definitely some controversy when it came to Josh Allen getting picked up and carried near the end of the game. That's definitely a rule in the NFL rulebook that's not legal. So it was disappointing seeing them allow that to happen. But the Jags kind of did it to themselves by, we talked before you got on about not going for that field goal early. You've got to take those points whenever you can get them, especially against a team like the Bills. You can't be giving them up, and they kind of paid the price.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it looks like we got a fan here. We got Hunter Vogel saying "Sup, fool."
We just talking about football? No, we're not talking about just football, but just right now for these 30 seconds, that's what we're talking about.
Exactly. We're starting off going football, just simply because that's what was going on at the moment. But, everybody, this is Matt Knowles. Matt is one of the coolest, most funnest, awesome people I have ever had the privilege of talking to, meeting with. He's got projects out there that are coming up that he's gone through. If you're a nerd like me, this interview is going to be the best. It's going to really be the best. So, Matt, why don't you take a moment, introduce yourself to our viewers, and let us know more about you.
Sure. My name is Matt Knowles. I'm one half of Symmetry Creations. If you go back just a little bit in the on the YouTube shows, you'll see that Stephen did an interview with the other half of STEPH CANNON. I'm in Florida. She's in California. We do a bunch of different titles. We've got 5 different comic titles that we do. I'm also a metal musician, so there's metal music that ties into our different titles that we have. Do a lot of stuff with live shows and events, whether it's us out there representing Symmetry Creations, or it's me doing panel hosting and emceeing at conventions. Steph also does movie reviews and horror and geek cultural articles. On our website, she's got over 100 bylines from sites like Fangoria, Horror Geek Life, Creepy Kingdom. We also starting to do some articles that are hosted exclusively just on our site. She gets so many requests for review that we want to make sure all of them get up there. So some of them we're just exclusively putting on our site as well. But yeah, so that's the in a nutshell from my creative side, basically what I do.
Very cool. I am going to switch this up here a little bit and put you in the main focal point here because you are the guest of honor here. So, Matt, that was an awesome introduction. What made you want to produce comic books?
Well, it was interesting because I never really set out to want to do comics in a sense. My history was being a metal musician, and that was what I did from the time I was in high school. up until, say the mid 2000s, late 2000s. And I just got really burnt out on the industry, and just things in the business side of it just weren't fleshing out the way that it just didn't make sense. I was just burnt. And I took about 7 to 10 years, however you want to angle it, completely off from any kind of content creation. And then when I decided to get back into it, I was like, I want to create some more music, but I wanted there to be a side story attached. So writing comics, I was like, I'm going to do a couple of songs and have a quick little side story. And then a couple of songs turned into a full album with a unpublished a novel. And then that turned into a fleshed out illustrated novel / comic series, which is how Steph and I ended up meeting. And then from there turned into actually developing full comic series and such from there. And that's where we're at now is, running basically with comics and graphic novels as the primary focus, and everything else as a secondary, accessory to the main thing that we do.
Remind me again how many comic books you have out now that you have made?
So there's 5 different series. As far as actual releases, I think that we counted, I think we're somewhere in the little 30 to 32 actual releases, because Heirs of Isildur, which is the main flagship title, there was an 11-issue arc that turned into a graphic novel, and that one was more on the illustrated novel side. But then since then, there's been 6 more releases there, and then we've had a lot of releases that are Tales from Nocturnia, Misfits Clubhouse, which is all ages, I Am Keto, and then our most recent series, which we're launching our next Kickstarter for, is for Tatsumi, the Serpent Mistress. Issue number 2 is going to launch on Kickstarter on January 27th.
And the covers are gorgeous. Now, do you guys do your covers, or do you hire artists for your covers?
What we like to say is you definitely don't want us as your artists unless you want to stick figures on the interior, because we can do the writing, the lettering, the post-production, the putting the book together, all those kind of things. But we know that we're not the artists that people are looking for. So we have artists from all over the world that have worked with us. Our main art team for Heirs and I Am Keto and Tatsumi is out of Brazil. For Misfits Clubhouse is out of India. But then we also have cover artists from all over as well. We've got the cover that I showed you that you had on the promo. That cover is called The Women of the Side Stalker, and that's by a sister duo that does a manga series out of California, Chess and Gwen. I've lost count now. I think that's maybe the 8th cover that they've done for us.
Nice.
And there's going to be whole tiers in this campaign just designed around Chess and Gwen covers, because they did a cover for I Am Keto. They did one for Tatsumi number 1 and Tatsumi number 2. So if somebody's like, hey, I really want their cover art for this extended universe, we're going to have a tier for them. We're going to have a tier for Alessandro and Alan, who's our main art team. We're going to have another tier that's going to be for specialty cover specialists that have come in that have done a cover here or there. We're going to have a tier for just those guys as well. So we're going to make it so somebody really wants to get their hands on a bunch of stuff from a specific artist, they're going to have an easy way to be able to do it in the campaign.
Definitely. That cover that you let me share for the promo, I really want that as a poster, because it's so good.
Yeah, we were really, really happy with the way that came out. Chess and Gwen do an awesome job. Actually, this is the original, or this is the cover that they did for issue 1. So that's still, Chess and Gwen's art. And then they have the cover that we showed you for issue 2. And then they did the main cover for I Am Keto. We actually have another cover artist that's working on a cover for this issue that's going to be absolutely wild. We've got a pirate band called the Dread Crew of Oddwood that's going to be a part of the issue. They have a guest appearance in the issue. And they're actually on a European tour right now. It's a side story. They're on a European tour right now. Some of our great friends, huge European tour that we're really glad to see them be able to be a part of. But we've got another cover artist named Renan Shodi, who's done some work for us before out of Brazil, who's working on a cover that is going to incorporate them alongside of our Crew of the Side Stalker as well. So that's going to be fun. That's actually getting worked on as we speak.
Now the band are actually in the book coming up, correct?
Yeah. So when we were writing issue 2, we knew the location we were going to be at, and there was going to be a tavern that was going to have, like a pirate band playing on stage. And I went to Steph and I'm like, kind of rhetorically asked her, I'm like, is there a reason why we haven't asked our friends in the Dread crew of Oddwood if they just wanted to be a part of this issue? And we brought it up to them. They were like, heck yeah, man, this is going to be great. That sounds like an awesome thing. So it's been fun. Because normally when we write scripts, we don't have to run it by anybody except ourselves. We're like, if this is the way we want to go, then this is what we're going to do. But when you have an outside agent like that involved, they have the right to have input into the way that they're portrayed. I mean, we got to still construct the storyline, but if there's a line of dialogue that's not along the lines of the way that they want to portray themselves as a band, even though they're, hooligans and troublemakers and things like that, they did come back to us and say, hey, this really isn't something that we would say or portray ourselves as. So we rewrote some script and sent it back to them like, yeah, that's much more along the lines. So it's kind of fun having that little bit of collaboration there with someone, just to make sure that they can be completely behind the way that we've portrayed them.
Nice. So they're actually a part of the storyline and not just like a Captain Skeet and the Shrimp Shack Shooters in the movie, That Thing You Do.
Yeah, absolutely. They're not just, here's some character in the background panel just doing a cameo. They actually got written into the storyline. And even though it's just a piece of this issue, that piece helped us to move forward the overall storyline as well. So we found a way to be able to have fun with it, but at the same time, push the entire storyline together as well.
That is awesome. As the creative, I mean, to have somebody come at you and say that you want you to be a part of the book and actually be a part of the storyline, it's actually a really cool thing to do. So I'm sure they were incredibly excited about that. And the story is probably incredible with them to be in it and just to push the story along.
Oh,
now, you and Steph both write the stories, correct?
Correct. The way that it works right now, because over time it kind of morphs. We always will say things like, imagine going on a trip and you've got one person who's got the steering wheel, but one person who has the navigation. And just because you're behind the wheel, if you don't have the navigator there, you're never going to get to the point that you want to be at.
Right.
And so there's that kind of symbiotic relationship to make sure that the story goes where it needs to be. Recently, in our most recent issues, it's been more so where I've been the one behind the steering wheel and she's been more of the navigator, more than co-writing in a sense. But that's also just the way that organically things have happened. It's not like, there's any kind of like mandate that it has to be that way. It's just been, obviously with Heirs of Isildur, that's a storyline that I had been working on since before Steph and I met. And when we got to the end of the Perilous Prospects arc, I needed to be able to wrap the thing up. And so, she's been really good about, hey, what's in your mind, where you're trying to go. And she tries to help make sure that the story is not going to be going off the rails in a sense. So we're always doing read throughs, like whether it be the script or, once it's lettered, because for us, even if we have it in a script, we may think that the dialogue is right, but then when it gets to the art and we see the amount of dialogue we have or the lack thereof, the dialogue is always going to change based on the arts. We'll do other read-throughs as it's going along just to make sure that everything is the way that it needs to be. So there's definitely a dual process to make sure that everything is as it needs to be, so that when we get to the end of the issue, we both can feel like, yep, this is the product that we want to have out there in the market.
Very nice. Now, when you write, are you thinking just like one story arc, or are you thinking like a whole series of story arcs? Do you have an ultimate goal in mind as to where you're wanting to take everything?
So that's a good question. So for Tatsumi, this one, we've known where we want this thing to go since before we even started writing the story, in a sense. Nice. That doesn't mean that we know all the pieces of the puzzle to get there, but we know where we want that end goal to be. So like right now, for instance, Tatsumi the Serpent Mistress #1 is out. And for those of you that are unfamiliar with Tatsumi, we like to say that it's like Pirates of the Caribbean and the live action One Piece meets martial arts heroines. There's a lot of fun, a lot of swashbuckling in there, but there is an overarching story where Tatsumi actually has her origins in our story, I Am Keto, which is more horror fantasy. And there are some definite fantasy horror creatures that are in there that have taken over the land where she came from and basically eviscerated it. And so we knew when we did I Am Keto, we made sure that we're like, hey, we're going to have this character Tatsumi that we're going to go write this other arc for. And when we started writing the arc for Tatsumi, we knew where we wanted to be. And we even said, oh, maybe it's going to be 4 or 5 issues. It's going to end up probably being a 6-issue arc, because as we started to really plot it out, we've seen that we needed to give some more room for certain spots to breathe. We want to make sure there's fun set pieces in each issue that are unique to that issue while also continuing out the overarching story. We wanted that to be very important in our construction, because normally we've not been writing in single comic form. What I mean by that is I've got a copy of one of our Heirs of Isildur issues here. So even though this looks like a comic, it's actually like a mini graphic novel. You can see that we've got the spine on the side of it. It's called a perfect bound book. And every issue for Heirs of Isildur, the Perilous Prospects, was 44 to 56 pages. So we had no limit other than whatever limit we imposed upon ourselves for how long each issue was going to be. For Tatsumi, we said, hey, I know this is kind of going in reverse, but we want to make sure that every issue is just comic length. So every issue's got a cap at 32 pages. So whereas with Heirs, you'd be like, oh, we just have to add 4 more pages to the book if we want to tell the story. We're like, nope, we have 32 pages. What are we going to do to make sure that we're telling this story as concisely and efficiently as we can, so that way the story arc and the plot can be pushed forward, but also have these fun sequences as well. So to answer your question, yeah, we know where we want to go. And sometimes it's, do we want to take this little detour on the journey as we go? Or sometimes the story itself kind of asks for the journey. When we did Heirs of Isildur, the Perilous Prospects, we asked our artist Alessandro at the beginning, we're like, hey, we need some wild looking characters that are going to be a part of the town of Shadows Haven. And he came up with some that were really fun. And we're like, okay, this character is going to be named this, and this character is going to be named that after he drew them. And they actually became regulars in the series based on just the way he drew them. We didn't really have a plan for that at the beginning, but it was one of those fun little detours that helped to add some flavor to the story.
Nice. Now that's a lot of people out there who are creative, who are trying to come up with names is one of the hardest things to come up with in any series that you write, because you don't want it to sound like a character from a different series, or you don't want it to not be appealing to what their character actually is. So coming up with names, how do you go about coming up with names? Do you go in like a Google history of things like that? Do you side-by-side comparisons?
Anything and everything. There has been I can tell you that we had a medieval fantasy series called Tales from Nocturnia, and the main character in that one came from watching a football game, and one of the players on his jersey, his last name was Beninock, and I'm like, that's a great last name, great name. So that's how we got Beninock the Executioner, was from that. I referee a absolute ton of soccer games, probably 5,600 or more soccer games in my career. And there's been so many times that I've been on the soccer field and, had a player's name or heard somebody call something to somebody else. I'm like, I got to remember that name, because that name sounds pretty cool. That might be a basis for something. I'll tell you a fun one. I was at a soccer game last season, and Steph and I were toiling over what the name of the pirate vessel in Tatsumi, the Serpent Mistress, was going to be. And none of the names that we had come up with really was jibing. And I was at a soccer game, and they were doing the player introductions and the coaching introductions. And I didn't know whether I heard it right or misheard one of the coaches' names. And I'm like, did they just say that dude's last name was Side Stalker? And I'm like, dude, I'm like, Side Stalker. Like, before the game, I went over to my phone real quick. I'm like, Steph, I think I got the name for our ship. I'll let you know after the game. And so it's been the Side Stalker ever since. Now I found out this year that wasn't his name. You know, I was like, I had that game again. I'm like, that's so cool that I heard Side Stalker, even though that's not his last name. So you never know where inspiration is going to come from.
I love that. I actually love that. It's like songs that you hear that you misinterpret the words for them. You'll always know that, but then as soon as you hear what the right words, it's like, no, that doesn't sound right. That's not proper. And Side Stalker is actually a really cool name for it. Did you ever find out what his name actually was?
Oh, I did. Yeah. This year I did their team again, and I looked at the roster that they gave us, and Siden Stucker or something like that was his name. But yeah, it was just a fun one. And I'll tell you this too. I'm always one for big, wild, creative names, and Steph tries to help get them back to a logical form. And one of the things we've kind of compromised on is that the more complicated the name, the more that the phonetic spelling needs to be there. Not so like if you've got a name that's got a bunch of silent letters and, you know, things like that, like we try to make sure that if somebody looks at, like, there's medieval names or names that are more, you know, eloquent or things like that, that, you know, you're not going to see something like how Worcester, Mass is spelled Worcester. You know, we're not going to do something where somebody's going to know that, you know, Worcester is supposed to be pronounced Worcester. It's going to be something where that they look at the letters and just sound out the letters. They're going to get the actual name, so that way people don't get stopped and hung up on a name that has got some crazy spelling. It has nothing to do with the way it's pronounced.
I actually like that, because that's the last thing you want, is to have your readers of your comic book gets caught up on a name and not be able to move forward to the next part, or
Exactly.
any kind of misinterpretation of it.
Yeah, misinterpretation, or just getting pulled out of the story for a minute. Like, well, what are they even trying to? Why would they go and spell this thing wrong for no reason? You know, we try to steer clear of that, but still having unique names.
Absolutely. Now, you get inspired, you were saying, by names. What other inspiration do you have for your books?
So, I mean, I feel like you can get inspired from anywhere. I know that when I was creating Heirs of Isildur, the Crossroads Conundrum, which is the first full album and first full story arc for Heirs, there are a lot of situations that happen around me where real world things, where people had some very serious issues in their lives, that inspired some lyrics. And so those real world issues inspired the lyrics for a song. But then I'm like, how can I take that song and that real world issue and make that as part of the backstory of this character, fictionalize it in a sense, so that song can still be true to the real world situation, but can also be used as a character's backstory. So, like, for instance, the character Merc in Heirs of Isildur, she has a background where she was alone, isolated, was contemplating suicide, and gets pulled through a portal into Shadow's Haven and into the Heirs of Isildur world. And her backstory actually came from a true story from a friend of mine at the time, where she had shared with me some stuff that was going on in her life, and about, you know, a consideration of a suicide attempt. And so it was really neat to be able to be in the book and go, if you want to know more about you know, Merc's backstory, go listen to the song Murky Waters, and that's, you know, an expansion of her character arc. So so sometimes things like that, like real world experiences and lyrics, kind of help to inspire the characters of the story that's out there as well.
I love that idea that you're able to go into off-topic subject. I mean, suicide is a very off-topic subject that a lot of people don't like to talk about, or they don't like to bring up, but I think is absolutely necessary to talk about, because unfortunately the suicide rate is up high nowadays because of depression and because of the way things are. So to be able to bring up topics like that in a format for, I mean, we're geeks. We grew up reading comic books. I'm sure you had, I know I had a bunch of geek friends that killed themselves growing up because they didn't fit in, or they didn't think they fit in. So to if a comic book would have been out there for them to be able to read, that kind of they could connect with, that they could feel, that they could know that they're not alone, I think it would have been a whole lot less suicides in that instance.
Well, one of the things about Heirs of Isildur, even though it's apocalyptic sci-fi set in a steampunk world, the group of people that are being followed in Heirs of Isildur basically become like a found family in a sense, where like every one of them was isolated and alone in their own specific way. And fate had a hand in pulling them all together from wherever they were at. And even though it's a time travel type story, one of the things that we really wanted to do in that was to not give these characters that God knowledge. Sometimes characters know things that there's no reason for them to know about what higher powers or supernatural things are doing. What we basically did was take these characters and they were like, we have no idea why fate decided to choose us. And even when you get to the end of the Perilous Prospects, you don't really know why they were put together. All they know is, hey, we have been put together, so what are we going to do with it? And I think that that's the kind of lesson that, we all have to, think about in our own lives. We have the life that we have. What are we going to do with it? We can't change the past. We can't change the present. All we can do is try to, move things forward in the future. And, I think that that's a big thing that people really need to focus on is, we can't do anything about the things that have already happened. All we can do is control that path forward.
I agree. And I love that you're putting that out there. Mainstream comics. And I mean, I grew up, I think we're the same age. I don't know, but I think we're roughly the same age.
Roughly the same age. Close enough.
With Marvel's X-Men, when Jim Lee took over the X-Men is when I really got into comic books, huge. And to see where that is now to where it's become, because Marvel basically sold out to Disney and they wanted to make all their money onto the movies. People are reading less and less because they have that low attention span now. They need that constant, instant, what do you call it, gratification or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think comic books still provide that, because it's not just, it's not this words on a page. It's pictures, it's story, it's emotion, it's breadth, it's everything. And I'd like to get people more back into reading comic books.
Well, and I think that one of the things, one of the lessons that we can learn from a Marvel or a DC, and I'm not going to say that the way that they do it is the right way, but they've got their IPs out in as many possible mediums where they can be consumed as you possibly can. And I think that comic writers and novelists and all need to take some lessons from that, because, as my late brother would always say, you never want to be in the sales prevention department. You always want to find a way to, if there's a way to get what you're doing into the hands of someone, go ahead and do it. And, whether it be in a written book, whether it be an illustrated book, whether it be videos, whether it be music, whether it be merchandise. I mean, you're wearing a piece of your merch, I'm wearing a piece of our merch. There may be somebody that doesn't care about books, but they love the design of your shirt, and they go and get that shirt. And then 6 months later, like, hey, I wonder what else is behind what's on this shirt. And that may be their gateway into reading your story. Give people opportunities to find your story and find their door into the world you're creating. Our mantra is creating characters you can relate to and universes you want to escape into. And so we want to give people whatever pathway to get into that universe that they possibly can.
That is fantastic advice. That may have to be my resolution for this year. I still haven't come up with a resolution this year, so that may be it. Be discoverable. Put yourself out there so that people can find you. I mean,
that's exactly right. The less steps people have to go through to get to you, the more chance they're actually going to take those steps to get to you. Because if you make it so difficult, they're going to go on to the next person that's a lot easier or is more in their face to be able to go in and get that thing that's easier.
I love that. Now, one of the pros about being a comic book creator is you get to go to Comic Cons.
Absolutely.
You get to go to Comic Cons all over the place. And we're friends on social media, and I see all of these pictures and moments of you and Steph at cons. It is like the coolest stuff out there. I get like so 12-year-old schoolgirl when I see you guys on doing cons. So what is the biggest and what is the best part about going to the cons?
Well, I'm going to give you two different answers on this one because there's completely two different sides of this. The first on my first answer is going to be when you go to a show and you know that you've made a connection with someone that's there. We have a couple of guys, we just call them the boys, that are some big supporters of us in Shreveport, Louisiana, big show we go to up there. And the first time we met them, they came up to our booth, and three Southern boys, down home kids, kind of thing like that, early 20s, late 20s. And they're like, yeah, we're going to come back. And they walked around. About 40 minutes later, they came back to the table and they were like, we're going to get some stuff from you. We want to make sure we support you because we walked all the way around this whole building, and you guys are one of only like 2 or 3 people that actually took the time to speak to us and make it feel like that we actually mattered, that we stopped at your booth and we actually mattered to you guys. And I'll never forget it. The one guy, Matthew, he's like, I can't wait to go read this. He's like, I'm just a simple man, but I'm sure going to take a look at this. And that was literally what he said. And he came back the next day and he was like, well, yes, I really love the juxtaposition of this and that in the story, and the way you did this and the way you did that. And we're like, dude, don't ever doubt your intelligence again, man. Like, you picked up on so many things in that issue that we hoped someday that one person would pick up on, and you picked it up in one night. I'm like, dude, you did it. I'm like, that we were blown away. And we've kept that relationship with them. We've seen them multiple times at the show. We went back the next year, and they literally got a ticket just for Friday because they wanted to come in and see us. They didn't care about the celebs that were there. They just wanted to see us. And so we, that was a good thing, is creating those relationships and knowing that something that we've done, whether it's just us being us or the creations that we have impacted people in a positive way, is something that has been is really good, really fun to us. And the other thing that I will say is being on the side of things where we have access to some of the celebrities, from me being the PA announcer or the MC or doing interviews with them, and being able to interact with them on a different level. I mean, they are human beings just like we are. And it doesn't matter if it's Howie Mandel or Kevin Smith or Danny Trejo, or the people from The Boys or Scream. And I'm not trying to name drop. I'm just saying, if you're looking at people from all over the spectrum of entertainment, when I get on stage with them to do an interview for that hour, we're equals. It doesn't matter what brought them there. It doesn't matter what brought me there. Our goal is to entertain the people in the audience and make sure that when we're done, that people want to run, not walk, to go and continue this conversation with the celeb, and being able to have those kind of relationships with people like Jamie Kennedy from Scream has become a friend of mine. Efren Ramirez from Pedro from Napoleon Dynamite has become a good friend of ours. Just being able to interact with some of these people and just be normal, be real with them, and not like put them on a pedestal and see how they react. They're just like, they like to just sit down and just have a fun time. Alan Tudyk was somebody that we had a chance to spend some time with, and that guy was one of the funniest dudes that you'll ever meet. Alan Tudyk we saw him the first day of one of their shows. We're in the green room. He's like, just want to let you know that I'm going to go on the stage. I'm going to bring Alan Tudyk's bag of crap on the stage with me. And if somebody asks a good question, then I'm just going to reach into the bag. Whatever random thing comes out, they get something from Alan Tudyk's bag of crap. And we're like, okay, this is going to be great, because we were just laughing hysterically at some of the things he showed us. So we get on the stage, and his bag of crap was like things from like, hey, this is a wallpaper sample from my house that we didn't go with. He's like, I'm going to sign this. Here, you have a wallpaper sample. Then it's like, hey, here's my string of lanyards from Dragon Con. And he's like, so somebody gets my actual set of lanyards, and he's like, hey, here's page 1 of the Rogue One script from before it was even called Rogue One. So somebody out there literally got Alan Tudyk's actual first page of the Rogue One script when it had a secret name on it. I'm like, so you never know what you're going to get, but just being able to be a part of those kinds of crazy experiences is something that that it's just been a great fun time, and fortunate to be able to be a part of that.
I love that. Alan Tudyk rocks. I have a wash from Firefly figure signed by Alan Tudyk, and he wrote, "I'm a leaf on the wind," and I'm like, why are you going to write the last thing you said on screen on a toy here, man? Come on, no. but it was so cool to have that sign and have him put "I'm a leaf on the wind" on there. So I love Alan Tudyk, and a lot of people don't even know how many things he's been in, given his voice to, or even starred in. He's one of the best characters out there. The evolution of your con, from your first con to your last con last year, where do you think was the most changes in there?
So I would say that's a great question. So I would say we went back and we did our end of year 2025, and we looked at the number of events that we had been a part of. And an event can be anything from a comic book store signing up to a large 3 or 4 day convention. And 2025 had the most appearances that we have had since pre-COVID. So 2019, we had the most by far. But we looked at what those appearances were in 2023, and because comic conventions by name have really morphed, they're more celebrity autograph, selfie hunting events more than focused on comic creators. We've tried to pull back a little bit from some of the larger shows because the expense of going to them has just got completely out of hand. So we had probably more comic store single day pop-up event signings than we did anything else in 2023. And I would say where we're at now is we want to be much more deliberate and discerning about what shows we're going to be at and why, because if the cost to attend is going to be too much, and it could be the cost for both Steph and I to come out, because if you're going to have more extra travel involved, it doesn't make sense for it to just be me to attend, or just Steph in California to attend out there. Or is it a con where it doesn't make any sense for us to attend because of the expense as it is, because there could be something else, going to a library show or going to a comic store, that could be more beneficial and not break the bank financially. That's, I think, what the biggest difference is understanding the changes in the market, especially with the economy the way that it is right now, and not trying to force that square peg into a round hole if it's not there for you.
Is the ultimate goal just to make more sales, or is it to move on something different?
Well, with any business, you have to have sales, especially when you're having to deal with paying for artists or printing up merch. You have to be able to keep the financial end flowing. And when that well runs, I mean, an artist is not going to do art for you just because they like you. A printer is not going to print up a stack of books for you just because you're a cool dude. I mean, you have to be able to have that transactional relationship with them. But in the long run, it's the cycle. You need to be able to get some kind of product into people's hands, so that, one, you can fund the things you're doing, but two, you want to see those people come back to you because they appreciated what you did in the first place. That's something. If you want to say what's our ultimate goal, is to see these people that are repeat returners. Like we did 5 crowdfunding campaigns last year, and people don't understand how much of a photographic memory both Steph and I have when it comes to people that back our campaigns. Every single time a name comes in, we're like, dude, this person just backed us again. That's awesome. They were a part of 5 campaigns ago. We recognize the name and we celebrate that. If it's somebody that's brand new, we're like, dude, this is a brand new person. Where'd they come from? Celebrate that name. So like we even tell people, hey, when we write them, we thank them for backing. We're like, hey, we saw your name come back in, and we're always excited to see that name come back, to see your name come back in. And one person was like, I didn't know my name was that memorable. And we're like, hey, we really pay attention because we know that if you are backing our product, you're investing your money, but also your time and entrusting us to create a product that is going to be worthy of your time and financial attention. So to see them come back is it's a good, I can't even think of the word I'm trying to say, but we know then that we've probably done our job in a sense, that we've done something that has made them feel like it's worthy of their investment, so they're ready to come back again. So that helps motivate us to make sure that the story and the products we create the next time are at that level or better every time.
That's phenomenal. Being the person who's running those campaigns and remembering people like that's what separates people who love doing this and people who are just doing this for a paycheck. When you have the love of doing something, you're going to remember the people who brought you in there. You're going to remember the people who read your books, the people who are going to come up to you at the cons or at a signing or at these and say, you influenced me, or you changed my life, or I love the way you write, or I love this character. It's those things that as authors and as creators and as creatives that we just love hearing those stories. And you guys have so many cool stories of that. Just out of curiosity, where are you wanting to take these stories? Are you wanting to expand out the current universe, do new universes?
So right now we're in an interesting spot because with the completion of Heirs of Isildur, the Perilous Prospects, which was the current arc for Heirs, that's left our schedule in a sense a little bit wide open. Like right now, we know we've got Tatsumi the Serpent Mistress, which is going to be the main focus storyline wise. We have a lot of super fun things we're able to explore in that story arc, the different things we're able to bring in. We've talked so many different times about different mediums that we might want to get our IPs into. I mean, games is always something, could it be a game? Could it be, who the heck knows what's out there, but things that we want to try to get our IPs into, outside of just telling these specific stories. Because if you're in a game or you're in it could be a board game, could be a deck of cards game, whatever it might be, you get to tell that story in a completely different way. So now that Heirs of Isildur, the Perilous Prospects arc is complete, we have a little more room to be able to think about where we go next when it comes to those things. We have some stories that we wrote, or we put some ideas down for when we first met. We were just like, every story idea we have, we're just going to put it down here. And we had 26 different ideas at the very beginning. And we literally just captured whatever and just have left them on a sheet. And there's times we'll go back and one of those ideas turned into Tales from Nocturnia, the medieval story that we have. One of those ideas was the spawning point for Misfits Clubhouse. But we have a lot of other smaller stories that are like one-offs that we have just had sitting on there. Like, man, it'd be really good to come back to this one. It would be good to come back to that one. And, who knows, maybe in 2026, 2027, we start to explore those. But more so than anything, we just want to make sure that we're creating products along these IPs that are going to be the things that people want to get their hands on, so we can keep the IPs in their hands and fresh in their minds.
Nice. Do you have a favorite property that you want to see produced into something else other than what it currently is?
Well, Heirs of Isildur, obviously, just because is the flagship for me. I would love to see some kind of something, whether it be developed into some kind of animated series. It could even be, any kind of thing like that would be great. I think that I Am Kido and Tatsumi the Serpent Mistress are absolutely set up for being in some kind of other medium, whether it's turned into a manga or some kind of animation like that. Would love to see something along those lines. I definitely think that there's a lot of enough factions involved in the Tatsumi and Aikido world where we could see some kind of world building game based on them. But we'll have to see, because we definitely would not want to put something out that would be half baked, or would be something where people are like, yeah, this concept is good, but the creation, the design of it is not as good as the original concept. So, you know, we, like I said, we are really wide open to those things, but we definitely know that we don't want to just expand what we're doing just for the sake of expansion. We want to make sure it's very deliberate, so that way we know either A, we have an ability to market it online the way that we do through our crowdfunding campaigns, or it's something that organically would make sense being on our table at an in-person event.
I can't wait to hear features on that, because I see you have a lot of different ways that you can go with it, and all of them sound really exciting. I hope to see that coming out. Now, when you do crowdfunding, crowdsourcing, you've had what, 5 successful ones, correct?
Oh no, we've had 17.
17
successful.
Right on.
Yeah, we've had
17 successful ones. What kind of?
You know what? It might be. Actually, we've had 6. We've had 16 successful. We've run 2 more, so we've had 18 successful. We're about to launch our 17th. So, actually, no, I'm incorrect. Shut me up. We have run 17 successful, because the one we did on Backer Kit is our 17th. We're about to run our 17th Kickstarter. Okay, so yeah, I just gave you a bunch of different numbers in there. So now we've run 19 successfully. We're about to run our 17th personal Kickstarter. So there we go.
Love it. I love it. What kind of feedback have you gotten from all of that?
It's been good. It's been good. It's definitely tough, because a lot of the things that we do don't fit into the normal demographics for what is going to be the highest dollar making Kickstarter or crowdfunding areas. And we're not willing to compromise what we do to try and go fish after dollars that may not be congruent with what we want to do as far as writers go. But one of the things that we always really try to make sure of is, when you do a campaign, you're going to have multiple different levels of people that are going to back your campaign. You're going to have people that are just going to want to throw a couple bucks at it because they want to support your product, but they don't have the money to go heavy in. Steph and I will support a lot of Kickstarter campaigns, but we normally are going to go for the entry-level digital tier, because we want to make sure that we're supporting as many people as possible. We want to make sure that whoever's getting that digital tier is going to feel like their money is money well spent. You're going to have your in between, somebody that may get a physical issue, they might get a physical issue and some merch to wear. They might get something in the middle, and we want to make sure there's something that's going to be of value to those people as well. And then you're going to have your large backers or your whale backers that whatever you do, they're going to spend top dollar to get the plethora of items that you have in your campaign. And so we literally, every time we put a campaign together, look at every one of those groups, and we're like, if you're somebody that's just coming in to get the entry level, is there an entry level that's value? Is there a step up from that entry level that they're like, hey, I might want to get one thing plus a little bit more? Do we do that right? Do we have stuff that's going to be of value to that middle level person? And the people that are on the top end, they actually motivate us a lot too, because we're like, hey, somebody, like we've done regular covers and variant covers and homage covers and foil covers and metal covers and any kind of combination. We just started doing some wood engraved covers on our campaigns. And so, people like those things. They've responded to them. So in the campaign that we have coming up, you're probably going to see some variation of every one of those. You're going to have regular covers and foil covers and metal covers and a wooden cover as well, different levels of rarity on those things, because there's some people out there that want those things. And so if they want them, why would we not make them? If we can get them where we're not having to go, the key is to not make sure, you want a wood cover, you have to get a 50 or 100 piece minimum. No, we're not going to do that, because you're going to be sitting on most of them. We have a lot of basically buy purchase with some of our people. They're like, yeah, if you want 3 wood covers, good, I'll make you 3 wood covers. Let's do it.
Very cool. Very cool. I want a wood cover. Okay,
That's right.
sounds awesome. That sounds awesome. What are some of the issues that arise in making a comic book come to life?
Well, honestly, one of the biggest things is the financial side of it. The financial side of putting together a book is massive. The art production to get realistic art, high quality art, costs a great deal. Making sure that you understand that it's not just creating a book, that you have to be a marketer, you have to be a business person as well. I mean, there could be some days that you don't even touch a script because all you're doing is writing posts and doing other things. And you have to do that marketing side of it, because if people don't know that your product is there, they're going to do, why would they have any impetus to go and invest in it or purchase it? Because there's 100 other people out there, 1,000 other people doing the same thing. So you have to be able to invest that time there. So I think that the balance of doing things to write and create new products alongside of creating finances to be able to pay for the things alongside of promoting it, that balance of those three things is probably the most difficult thing, is finding that balance between all three and then actually having a life outside of it.
Nice. Good answer. Good answer. Long nights, coffee, Red Bull, whatever gets you through. I know that we're coming up on it here a little bit, and I wanted to get this question out there because you said you had some thoughts on it. But what are your thoughts on AI?
So I think conceptually that a lot more people accept AI than they are willing to admit, because how many people have an Alexa, or how many people have things like that that are a part of their normal daily life? That's AI as much as the next thing. I understand and I respect why people have an issue with AI from an art form as they do right now. I think it's similar to Napster when MP3s and music, when that first started. I don't think anybody ever had a problem with MP3 music or people downloading music. They had a problem with people stealing music from a site like Napster, where the artists weren't getting any kind of compensation on it. I think that with AI, that the problem people have is a legitimate concern. I used to have a very different opinion of it when AI was in its very initial stages, before there was any concern about that it was taking money from artists and things like that. But now that it's where it's at, I can understand that. And we don't employ AI in anything we're currently creating because of that. That will we say that in a year? Who knows where the industry is going to be in a year on that. So we'll reassess at that point. But I think it's inevitable that it's going to take over more and more of different areas of our lives. I mean, you go to chat with somebody about a problem you have with your computer. You're not talking to a human being. You're talking to an AI system that they've programmed to handle that for you. So it's out there. It's a part of our daily lives. It's just a matter of, at what point are the things that are out there that are problematic going to become something that is then accepted by the masses?
Well, one thing I noticed about AI, especially this last holiday season, is that I would say 85 to 90% of the ads promoting products for holidays was made with AI. And the Coca-Cola commercials especially all had the little waiver on the bottom left-hand corner where it said made by AI. Does Coca-Cola get away with it because they're using their brand? Absolutely. It's their brand. They own the name. They own the polar bears. They own, I think I read somewhere they even own Santa Claus or something like that. That Santa Claus, is owned by Coke. So it is. It's becoming a part of our culture. The hard part about it is there's absolutely no regulation on it. So anybody can just take your work, turn it into AI, and then turn it into something, and they get they can market it for themselves, and they get paid on it, and you lose out on all that marketing of it. So there needs to be some kind of regulation into it.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that's happened recently is with Spotify, where there's a lot of AI music, and a lot of times the music is, you can sometimes barely tell the difference between something that's created with AI and something that isn't. And the big thing that's come out recently is that allegedly there are some people at Spotify that were creating this AI music and then pushing it to the tops of their charts and their algorithms, and then they were collecting the Spotify royalties back off of those. And there was a big stink about that, which I completely agree with, because they basically are unleveling the playing field and harming real artists by doing that. And so I do agree with you. There has to be regulations and compensation and ways for people to be able to still profit off of those things, even if it's not them that's using it. But I don't know what the answer is. I know that we don't have that answer right now, and I don't know what that answer is, but I think that at some point in the near future, we're going to start seeing those kind of things, just like broadband allowed us to get to a better spot when it came to downloading MP3s and things of that nature, and streaming services and all that. So who knows where we're going to be in 12 months to 24 months. We'll just have to see then if it's gotten any better.
Agreed. But you brought up the perfect example of Napster. Napster would have not had anything happen to him if Metallica didn't step in there and be like, "Hey, this is our songs. We're not getting paid for them." And then once they stood up, then they had more bands follow up behind them saying, "Yes, this is wrong." They were the ones that rocked the boat, and they got regulation into it, and Napster eventually shut down on there. Oh, it has been a fantastic interview here, Matt. I didn't believe we've come up to almost an hour here. I know you got something to do, but before you go, is there anything you wish to share about? Oh, wrong question.
Sure. So the most important thing right now, we're getting ready to launch Tatsumi the Serpent Mistress #2. This is the cover of Tatsumi the Serpent Mistress #1 right here. It is like Pirates of the Caribbean and One Piece beating your favorite martial arts heroine. We are super stoked about this upcoming issue. It's going to have a cameo appearance from the band The Dread Crew of Oddwood in it. We would love to have you become a backer of this campaign. It's going to launch on Tuesday, January 27th. You can go to tinyurl.com/Tatsumi2. That is TATSUMI and then the number 2, so that way you can follow the campaign and then become a backer and a supporter on day one with us. It's going to be a great campaign. We're going to have so much fun with it. We want you to come along for the ride. And if you're like, hey, I want to see the other things that you guys do, you can go to linktree.com/InSymmetry Creations. That's INSYMMETRY Creations. That's got our web stores out there. You've got access to all of our different stories that we've done. You've got access to all the articles that Steph writes, things, movies, movie reviews, horror geek culture articles for sites like Fangoria, Horror Geek Life, Creepy Kingdom, some exclusive ones on our site as well. We've got metal music videos that are attached to them that are attached to our stories, and a whole bunch of other things as well. So once again, that's linktree.com/InSymmetry Creations. But most importantly, go up there to tinyurl.com/Tatsumi2 and become a part of the Tatsumi the Serpent Mistress #2 campaign with us on January 27th.
That is the way to end the show right there, buddy. That was awesome. For everybody who subscribes to the channel, all that information for his websites are on the descriptions. Be sure to check him out on social media and sign up for the newsletter, because the newsletter is freaking awesome. I guarantee you will love that newsletter.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on, buddy. Thank you for all the information you shared. Go to your thing. I'll wrap up the show, and reach out to me when you're done with your other meeting, man.
All right, sounds good. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, man.
You're welcome, buddy. Have a happy New Year to you, and we'll talk soon.
You as well. Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you. Wow, that was fun, man. Anybody who knows me knows I am a geek through and through. Growing up, I was into geek culture back when being a geek was not very cool, and I'm still a geek. I still love sci-fi, comics, movies, just the whole geek culture of everything. And Matt there is one of the coolest guys I have ever had the privilege of meeting, talking to, and I can't wait to see what he has coming out with here in the future. Happy New Year to everybody out there. I want to thank you for watching another episode of Live with Curiosity and Encouragement podcast. And we will have some very cool news coming out in the next few weeks and some more awesome people to talk to. Have a wonderful evening. Thanks for spending your Sunday with me, and we'll see you guys next week.
Ever dreamed of seeing your name on the cover of a book? As a book publisher, we understand the challenges of self-publishing. If you're lost in the process, wondering about illustrators, book coaches, or formatting issues, worry not. At Soul Sunshine, we're here to guide you. Let's turn your dream into reality. Contact us to get started.